Well, Oklahoma fans, if I had told you before the game against Notre Dame that the Sooners would have 27 first quarter plays and Notre Dame would only have 9, and that for the game, Landry Jones would have completed nearly 70% of his passes and throw for over 300 yards against the number 2 scoring defense in the country and committed only 1 turnover, you would have taken that any day of the week, any day. But this is one of those situations where it's like the old saying, figures don't lie, but liars figure. I'm going to say this, and this is the first time I've ever said it on my post-game show. So if you have kids around or if you're insensitive to certain words, in about, I would say, 10 seconds, please turn away, okay? When it came to the Oklahoma Sooners running attack against Notre Dame, and when it came to the final 10 minutes of this ball game overall, Notre Dame kicked Oklahoma's ass. There we go. Okay, come back now. Notre Dame was the better team. And to further illustrate, before I break down this game, which by the way was just frustrating to watch, Notre Dame winning 30-13 and still very much viable for the national championship, and they needed a statement win, and believe me, they got it in Norman, so you have to give credit to the Fighting Irish. But before I break this game down, let's replay something that I said on my weekly matchup show. If you don't know what that is, the first time you've ever watched this particular show, my weekly matchup show is my basically my preview show of the following game, which in this case, I did my preview show Tuesday of Oklahoma Notre Dame. This was one of the things that I said, one of the big keys that Oklahoma had to do in order to win this game. So go ahead and take a listen. Here's me last Tuesday. The big thing about the Sooners, though, they'll have to run it successfully. Notre Dame only gives up 3 yards per carry. The Sooners must establish a run game. They can do that, they'll be fine. If not, then Notre Dame's not going to have to blitz as many players. Yeah, I said that Oklahoma had to run the ball in order to win, had to run it effectively. How effective is running the ball for 18 yards? That's 0.6 yards per carry, all right? The passing game was good for Oklahoma tonight, but it was simply a one-dimensional offense, just what Notre Dame wanted. Notre Dame was going to give up some passing. Notre Dame was going to let Landry Jones throw the high percentage passes. Notre Dame knew that they could not let receivers get behind them, and for the most part, they did a pretty good job of that. What they wanted to make sure, though, was that Notre Dame's defense was going to be the talk of the game. They wanted to make sure that Oklahoma was not going to be able to be a balanced attack. And trust me, it was not. Too many third down deficiencies tonight for Oklahoma. 4 of 14 on third down conversions. You can't have that and win a marquee ball game. I was actually a little bit stunned that it was 13-13 with about 10 minutes to go, because we'll break down the last 10 minutes in just a little while. The Notre Dame defense, we heard all about Manti Te'o. We knew that he was the premier defensive player in the country. To me, he's the most dominant defensive player in college football that I have seen in the last 3 years. You have to go back to Ndamukong Suh of Nebraska, their great defensive tackle, to see a defensive player who had that big of an impact, both individually and for his team, as Manti Te'o does for Notre Dame. He's going to get a Heisman Trophy invite, and if there was ever a full-time, solely defensive player ever to win the Heisman Trophy, this would be the year to do it. I think it's going to be him or Colin Klein of Kansas State. For the Oklahoma Sooners, the beginning of the game didn't look too bad. Moved the ball effectively early on. As a matter of fact, the first quarter, time of possession, they outnumbered Notre Dame 2-1, 10 minutes to 5 minutes. But we knew some things weren't right. For example, that first drive, they're marching the ball, they got it at midfield, and then the miscommunication on the snap. And next thing you know, Oklahoma's got 2nd and 29. Play the game right into Notre Dame's hands at that point, and then you eventually have to punt. The Sooners march it into the red zone. Guess what? You only get 3 points. Not good enough against Notre Dame's defense, not even close. And then right before half, looks like the Sooners are finally going to be able to get a touchdown, down 10-3, and then the holding call. And of course, Sooner fans are going to make a big deal out of the timing of when that flag was thrown. Looked like it was thrown well after Blake Bell had already scored from the Belldozer formation. Holding call, Bob Stoops couldn't believe it. Of course, if you look at the replay, unless you're blind, you knew it was a holding call. So the call was made. The timing of it was bad, but it was a hold. Sooners had to settle for a field goal. It took the Oklahoma Sooners almost 50 minutes to score a touchdown. And I know Notre Dame's defense is terrific, but that's ridiculous for an offense that had played so well in the month of October, played so well against Tech and played so well against Texas. I don't even count Kansas because Kansas stinks. But still, the month of October, it looked like the Sooner offense had got it right, both running and passing. But tonight, rushing the ball, there was no rushing attack at all. Played the game right in Notre Dame's hands. And then, offensively, you have to give credit to Everett Golson, the Notre Dame quarterback, the freshman playing on the road in a huge game in front of over 80,000 fans at one of the toughest places in college football to win, and in front of millions of fans watching on television. And with the game tied at 13, leading his team downfield with precision passing and then getting the job done himself with a touchdown run to give Notre Dame the lead. Once again, and this time, they would not relinquish it. The only time Oklahoma led in this game was 3-0, and that was early on, and then that lead was short-lived when Sierra Wood took a handoff, 62 yards later scores a touchdown. And I don't know how many people at home were waiting for this. When Wood got past that first line, we're waiting for somebody from the OU secondary or someone to come into the picture and make the play. And then Wood just kept running and running, and you never saw anybody in crimson even in the picture within 10 yards. It was one of those plays that just was a disaster for the Sooners, and Notre Dame got the lead right back in that situation. Again, the last 2 minutes were all Notre Dame. All Notre Dame. So what happens for Oklahoma? Of course, Landry Jones threw for enough yardage, but still this was one of those games where in the fourth quarter he didn't deliver. And again, nobody delivered in the fourth quarter for Oklahoma. It was frustrating because of the fact that in the second half, you saw Notre Dame take over time of possession. Oklahoma had the ball just one time in the third quarter. The Irish stuck to their game plan, running the ball. But Golson was absolutely efficient tonight. He didn't look like Joe Montana. He didn't look like Aaron Rodgers, but he didn't have to. I don't think this guy, if you put a gun to my head right now and said, is he going to play in the NFL one day? I'm going to say no. But you know what? That doesn't matter. He made pivotal plays when he needed to with his feet and with his arm. Notre Dame tonight was nearly 50% on third down conversions. It kept Irish drives going. They ate up yardage, and they kept the ball away from Oklahoma's offense for a pretty lengthy period of time. That's one of the formulas for beating Oklahoma in Norman. It was no fluke at all. No Irish fluke. People said, well, Notre Dame hasn't really beaten anybody. Michigan's not any good. Michigan State's having a disappointing year. Stanford, they've already fallen out of the top 10. BYU, they're not that special either. Who's Notre Dame beaten? Well, there's your signature win on October 27th. So, grading the offense, defense, special teams, and overall grade for Oklahoma offensively tonight. Simply put, this was a D for the Sooners. They did throw the ball efficiently, but the running game, again, was a non-factor, played right into Notre Dame's hands. And Notre Dame proved that they're more than just a Manti Te'o defense. They're a terrific overall defense, especially that front seven. Defensively, I am going to go with a C. It wasn't a terrible performance at all for Oklahoma, but when they needed to come through with big plays the most, they did not do it. Game tied at 13, as we mentioned. Got the crowd in the game. Looks like you got the momentum. 80,000 fans are going crazy. And then Notre Dame marches it downfield. They get the lead right back. Just like in the Kansas State game a few weeks ago, Oklahoma's defense fails in the fourth quarter. Special teams-wise in this game, this was not really particularly a bad area for Oklahoma. I'm going to go B- in this situation. This is just based upon Oklahoma's special teams performance, not Notre Dame's. Honeycutt made both of his field goal attempts tonight, so you can't really dog OU from the special teams perspective. But other than one decent kickoff return, which happened when the game was 30-13 Notre Dame, I mean, who cares at that point? the special teams really wasn't an asset tonight for Oklahoma. It wasn't a hindrance, but it wasn't an advantage, unlike previous weeks that we've seen from the Sooners. So for Notre Dame, Irish fans, I don't know if you're going to get a shot at the national championship, but at least your next 3 games should be winnable ones. You should be able to go to 11-0. You play at USC to end the season, but USC has proven to be mortal after losing earlier this season to Stanford, and then just recently losing today to the University of Arizona. So Notre Dame is going to go into USC feeling pretty confident. And at 12-0, I know that Notre Dame would still have to pass Kansas State and Oregon. They're not going to pass Alabama. Nobody's going to pass Alabama. Alabama can go ahead and punch their ticket to the national championship. I mean, if you don't know that, then you really don't know football. Alabama's going to be there. The team that will play Alabama, you would think Oregon, based upon the fact that Oregon has pretty much killed everybody this season. But I'm telling you right now, Notre Dame just got their huge win tonight, their marquee win. The Pac-12 hasn't been that spectacular this season. I know Oregon State lies in Oregon's way, the Civil War, which is looking like it's going to be a pretty good game. But the name Notre Dame itself is still pretty relevant in college football. And with the big win tonight over Oklahoma, don't be surprised if Notre Dame gets a lot of love from the Harris poll and from the coaches poll, the 2 polls, human-wise, that matter in the BCS, in order to get a boost in the BCS standings. So who knows how it's going to shake out, but at least Notre Dame gives themselves a shot. And for Oklahoma, playing at Iowa State, it's going to be hard for Oklahoma to get up for the game after the dejection they must be feeling from the fourth quarter collapse tonight against Notre Dame. Playing at Iowa State, last time they played there, almost got beat. That was 5 years ago. Iowa State winning against Baylor on Saturday, so that game's not going to be a gimme. Once again, final score, 30-13. Notre Dame proven that they are for real. Congratulations to the Irish and for the Sooners. We're going to see if they even give a rip about the rest of the year, starting next week. Boomer Sooner.